How I Met Your Mother is one of the most successful sitcoms of all time. But why? Well, because of its characters. Audiences didn't just laugh, they got emotionally invested. Ted Mosby, as the narrator and emotional center for the show, demonstrates a unique ability to be both incredibly sincere and a bit of a mess. He's relatable thanks to a whole host of missteps in his idealistic approach to romance, which of course he relates to his children over the course of several years. And honestly, that narration is a big part of what makes the show stand out. I can't think of many sitcoms with a similar gimmick, and this narrative spine makes for a show that can stand on its own, even at its worst moments. It's also interesting to view the whole series through Ted's point of view. In addition to being the spine of the show, it also means that what we see is inherently subjective, since it's all being told to us by Ted several years in the future. As such, many of the characters' flaws and eccentricities could be argued to be detached from reality. For example, Barney's intense womanizing could be a result of Ted's memory unjustly expanding on the truth. Perhaps Barney isn't as bad of a dude as Ted presents him. Heck, it's even possible that many of their misadventures in the dating world could have been more to do with Ted than Barney. It's hard to know for sure, and this could just be overthinking things, but it's an interesting way to view the series as a whole. Speaking of Barney, he's the show's breakout character.
I love my Robin.
He's loud, outrageous, and endlessly quotable. And perhaps most importantly, he's one of the more complex characters in How I Met Your Mother. Sure, he's chock full of catchphrases and flashy suits, but underneath that veneer of strained masculinity was a hidden vulnerability that the show explored throughout its 9 seasons. He starts off as kind of a womanizing prick who's frankly hard to like for many viewers, but slowly that character develops into someone capable of more sincere feelings and relationships. Now this comes to a head in the series finale, wherein his daughter Ellie is born. He holds her up, tears in his eyes, and he says, "You are the love of my life. Everything I have and everything I am is yours." It's at this moment Barney Stinson realizes what unconditional love truly is, and his arc from womanizing bachelor to loving father is completed. It's definitely a long con, but this subversion of expectations works really well and ties into earlier hints that Barney wanted deep down to be more than a legend, and that even the most seemingly selfish characters are capable of profound change. Of course, it's a long road for Barney to get there. Again, 9 whole seasons. I mean, come on. But over those seasons, we get plenty of insight into what makes Barney tick and why he would eventually find his true self. Take the season 8 episode, The Final Page, wherein Barney orchestrates a plan that leads Robin through a series of clues and memories, staged as an elaborate playbook trick, which turns out to be a cleverly disguised marriage proposal. It's still a bit suspect since he's continuing to treat people like playthings and admits to having hidden cameras not only in his apartment, but also in Lillian Marshall's, but then even Robin points out how ludicrous it all is in the moment, and continues to say yes to his proposal anyway. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's still character progression that brought joy to millions of viewers, so I'll take what I can get. Their marriage ultimately ends in divorce as well, but look, I'm trying to make a case for How I Met Your Mother being a great show. Get off my back, okay? If anything, their inevitable divorce is a realistic interpretation of events which culminate in the aforementioned fatherhood that finally gives Barney a real purpose. So yeah, I'm gonna stick to my guns on this one. It's a flawed but ultimately rewarding story. But what about Robin? She was the wild card of the group, an outsider and realist who challenged Ted's worldview and provided romantic tension not only with Ted, but also with Barney. She's also fiercely independent and shows this at various points in the show. For example, in the season 7 episode Symphony of Illumination, she finds out that she's infertile. This is something she manages to move past pretty easily, although as seen in her narration to her non-existent children, she does have to contend with it. Still, it doesn't stop her from pursuing her dreams, and per Ted's narration, she not only becomes a famous journalist, but also a bullfighter. Something I feel like we were robbed of seeing, but that's neither here nor there. Point is, she's not a weak female character. She's strong and she perseveres. Robin also perhaps best showcases how friendships evolve over time. After her divorce from Barney, she steps away from the group, feeling as though she's become distant from them. It's a painful but realistic portrayal of that evolution. Of course, you could argue that this is undone by Ted returning to her with that damn French horn in the finale, but in defense of that controversial moment, it's also a realistic presentation of a long-lasting relationship. These are two people who took long, complicated paths back to each other. Theirs is a relationship built on multiple instances of false starts and even false endings, with Robin repeatedly prioritizing her career over settling down. That settling down is a constant source of contention for Robin, and for Ted, for that matter. In season 1, she expresses to him that she doesn't want to get married or have kids. He tries and fails to convince her otherwise in the aptly titled season 1 episode, Come On. While in love, she flirts with the idea of settling down. Her relationship with Dawn, for example, ends despite her wanting to make it work because she prioritizes her career and freedom. Even at her own wedding to Barney, she gets cold feet and questions whether he's truly the one, which of course leads to their divorce 3 years later. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on Robin's ultimate choice since we don't know what happens to her and Ted after the finale. However, I think it's best to interpret the finale as the natural progression of two lives that literally and figuratively flirted with one another over the course of many years, and which, through much heartache, self-discovery, and personal improvement, ultimately came back around to each other. It still undermines Tracy's death and that whole 9-season buildup, but it does so in a way that feels relatively genuine. It's too bad that Tracy is skipped over as much as she is, but ultimately this is Ted and Robin's story. Finally, it'd be a mistake to not talk about Lily and Marshall. They're the least controversial characters. They're good-natured, wholesome, and showcase an enduring and beautiful relationship. Marshall is an earnest guy who's, in my opinion, the most relatable and likable of the bunch, while Lily, though chaotic in some regards, matches Marshall's caring attitude with her good intentions, which do often lead to comic outcomes. Their relationship isn't without drama, however, and both wind up having to sacrifice for the love they share. Lily briefly breaks Marshall's heart in season 2 when she leaves for an art fellowship in San Francisco, while later on in season 8 and 9, Marshall must make a similar sacrifice when Lily is offered a dream job in Rome. Basically, she's presented with a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but he accepts a judgeship without telling her, thereby potentially ruining their plan. However, much in the way that she made her own sacrifice years earlier, he ultimately decides to put the judgeship on hold, and they go spend a year in Rome. We learn that eventually Marshall does become a judge, and later serves on the New York Supreme Court. Theirs is a relationship built on mutual support and compromise, i.e. a true partnership. So as you can see, the heart of How I Met Your Mother lies alongside most other successful sitcoms in that it's about characters. We can harp on decisions made in the finale and throughout the preceding show, but at the end of the day, what netted this particular series so many awards and a lasting fan base isn't the unique narrative device or the outstanding sense of humor, it's the characters. But what do you think? I'd love to know your thoughts on How I Met Your Mother in the comments, and until next time, thank you for watching ScreenRant.